Hey everyone, this is GosuDad, and welcome to my final game in Season 6 of the Blizzard Online Ladder. This is Game 9, Srinivasan vs. CuePhoenix, Protoss vs. Terran on the map Antigua Shipyard. Greetings everyone, and welcome to Antigua Shipyard. Protoss vs. Terran, Terran vs. Protoss, Srinivasan. Srinivasan, that's the way to say that name. Playing Protoss in the red in the lower right hand corner, and CuePhoenix playing Terran in the lower left hand corner of Antigua Shipyard. And the final game that I played in Season 6 of the Online Ladder, Game 9, and the final game I played of that final night of Season 6 of the Online Ladder. 4 games in a row, last game of the evening, my last final stand to try to get a win before the end of the season, and my starting SCV coming down here to start off my wall-in, little dancing around there. And we were casting once again in the evening where my voice is a little warmed up and whatever, and I am excited to get into this cast and check out what is going on. So our goal here, of course, is to monitor these two players and their process in the Bronze-ish, Silver League-ish area, and the purpose of this is to actually get better at this game. Now, in my case, I'm kind of warming up to getting back into the ladder, so looking at these games is partially that, partially getting some practice for doing some casting later. But of course, the goal here in casting my own ladder games is to improve as a player. And so it's not just to look at where we are skill-wise and just be sitting there at the same level and just talking about that. But no, the idea is to look at places for me to improve in this area. So first thing here we can note from Srinivasan is his scouting probe pathway. So he chose to scout in the cross position location. If we look glancing down here at this mini-map, he starts in the lower left-hand side and scouts all the way across the map past the Zelnaga Tower, and my mouse is not quite sensitive enough to do a pan the entire way, but he's going to come all this way up to here, so that's the entire cross-map area. So there's some question here as to whether this is the best place for him to scout first, and my personal feeling on that is it's not. The cross position, I guess it depends on what Srinivasan is trying to do, as I try to say that name very quickly, and that is if he's trying to go for something early like a warp gate push or a cannon rush, then he is hoping that I am close to him, and he's hoping he doesn't want me to be far away, such as in the cross position. The other thing is that he's not, this position that he's coming to right here is important for him to scout out as a kind of, I would say this is the most important one to scout out. A, it's a close position, but B, as we look at the map going back to Srinivasan's base, his first expansion will naturally be to this natural expansion area, but the third on this map is often in this direction. Man, I need to get a more sensitive mouse situation going here. Third expansion is up to up north of his base, which actually brings him closest to this position. So this starting position right here is a very good position for him to scout out first. That's the first place that I would scout. The second place I would scout, of course, is the cross map position. Now in my case, I don't think I've done any scouting whatsoever because I think this is my scouting SCV, so let's see where I decide to take him. Now if I was keeping on top of things again, I think I would most likely check the position to the right in the lower right hand side in this map. Now I bring up those points because as we saw in the previous games on Antigua Shipyard, knowing your map and understanding the dynamics of the map, where the starting positions are relative to each other and which places are more favorable for certain situations and certain strategies is important, especially if you're basing your strategies on timings. So for example, if I'm building up a bunch of army units so I can come in and attack him while he's stuck on some tech or while he's early expanding, then I need to have an idea of which places are the best, are more advantageous for me to be playing against, and which places are at where I'm at a disadvantage with my particular strategy. Now in this case, Srinivasan having a I'm going to say his name 20 different ways in the course of this cast, has a pretty porous entrance ramp here, a lot of ways for me to get in and see what he's doing, and he's going for 3 gates. A little slow on the cybernetic score as we look at the time. It's 5 minutes. He could have been working on that faster, I am pretty sure, but once again, of course, Silver Bronze League, but this is where we can improve. Now he did decide to do a proxy pylon really close to the base, pretty much in view of any sort of units up here, so I think that's kind of a weak place to do that. It's kind of hard to tell from the vision with these Marines, but I think I could have seen that by purely having this refinery here. So he's going to be moving that probe somewhere else. Where'd it go? I should be looking for that probe. We are on, probe is going back home, never mind. Okay, so Srinivasan going for, by chrono boosting out that warp gate pressure, it should be seeing warp gate. His gateway's turned into warp gate, should be expecting a lot of early pressure from him. And looking at the army tab, we can see that I am keeping up with his worker supply, which is pretty surprising. But if he's been saving up that chrono boost to work on units or to work on upgrades, doing a weapons upgrade here, that's kind of interesting. Most people try to go for the army upgrade first. But, you know, weapons upgrade, all of the Protoss units, something that I've thought about is that the Stalkers and the Zealots both have 2 attacks. When they attack twice with 2 side blades, or with these, what do they call these things? The particle disruptors. So they actually get a double bonus from that forged research on the attack side. So that's pretty cool. Down here on the Terran side, doesn't look like I'm really expanding. Looks like I'm just building a bunch of Marauders. Marauders, Marines, very good in small numbers, especially against Protoss units. And we see Srinivasan doing an expansion. Now, checking out that army supply tab, I'm much higher on that army supply, 25 to 8. And worker supplies, we're keeping in touch with each other. No, we're keeping in line with each other. Srinivasan going for that expansion and putting a second forge down here. So that's going to be a double forge, double upgrades, double armor upgrades. That'll be good for him. But this group right here, if they get there in time and they don't dink around going to the Zalnaga Tower, should be able to do quite a bit of damage. Now, these units do not have stim researched, and it looks like the Marines have their shields on. So they do have combat shields, so that's good there. And these are armored units, and again, they will be fighting against Zealots that do not have charge, but he's only got 1 Zealot. So it's going to be these ranged units right here that they're going to be encountering. Now, if I stick around here too long and wait for more reinforcements, I'm losing that ability to come in and take advantage of his early expansion. Now, one nice thing, though, of course, is that he's finished his expansion. If I caught him while he was building it on the way, he would cancel it and save most of those minerals. But in this case, he's already invested in it, and he's even burning chrono boost on it. That's great. But of course, if these units don't do anything and get in there and do some damage, I mean, it's the 9-minute mark. He should be expecting a fairly big attack at this point. I mean, if I'm just going to stay on one base, if I don't do some serious damage here shortly, then he's going to surge ahead in that economic game. Here they go, finally deciding to do something. Going to check out this 3rd expansion to see if he's expanded twice. Maybe. Am I that responsible? Am I that good? Are we just going to sit here? This is just kind of painful to watch. A bunch of units back here. Now, you'll notice that he does have the forge here, and this sets up kind of a wall. And some people can build units over here in the refineries to set up a wall and kind of this nice kind of reverse concave. Not sure why my game is slowing down. And things are getting really chuggy here. Hopefully that doesn't impact the frame rate too much. Everything's slowing down as my computer upgrading its virus definitions. As we go up here into the 3rd to make sure that he's not up there, that was a good move, but we're just hanging out here and not adding any army units. But if we check out the supply tabs, my army is quite a bit higher, and his workers are starting to catch up. Should be seeing an expansion coming down on my base. No, putting down engineering bay. Getting a little scared that I'm going to encounter some DTs, but these units are not moving out, and this would be a perfect time to move out. I think those army units are about on par with what he's got here, but if I wait too long, some of these researches are going to be done. That attack research is already done. Armor upgrade is on its way. Ooh, if I came down right now, I could take out that forge if my units would come down and do some attack, but they're not going to do that. And because of that, we have this huge, actually, it should be bigger than this, income difference between the two players. Lots of gas coming out for Srinivasan. So not quite sure what is going on there, but now we have a backup squad moving out. And my frame rate is just getting nailed by something. That is really weird. Not sure what is going on there. Not a lot should be going on in my computer at this time. Srinivasan with the pylon here to make sure that I don't sneak up on the back way with a bunch of Reapers. I was not so smart to do that as well. So he's got some good play going on for him right now. I think he does have the huge economic advantage if he's able to take advantage of it. As long as he starts building some armor units. Now we are up to 6 gate, so he should be able to build a ton of units really quickly and take advantage of that increased economy. So do not be fooled by this supply number. It is a short-lived thing. Now these units are going to be able to fire down from the high ground. That was a completely ridiculous direction for me to attack from. And my units are going to have a concave here. They're stimming, but a bunch of the units, of course, are not within range of anything, so that was kind of a silly stim to have. I think they could take out this Nexus if they decided to focus on it, but instead I'm backing up into an area that will be... that's kind of an interesting decision. So I backed up into this area, which gives me a reduced surface area, but since I'm not being attacked by Zealots, it really doesn't matter. Now these units are going to be able to take out these Stalkers, which is pretty good. And man, Marauders are just so powerful with that stim attack, and they do the bonus damage against armored units. And wow, able to clean up those Stalkers and those defensive units, take out a refinery. And I think I took out a refinery. Didn't take down the forge, that would have been nice. But now able to kill off a bunch of probes. So, and the probes put on hold position, stop, not sure what was going on there. These Marauders going to be gone. Hopefully they can take out that Stalker. No, they can't. Wow, that was kind of an interesting exchange there. Didn't really expect that. 13 workers killed, 33 units killed total for CuePhoenix. And Srinivasan now, however, able to quickly regenerate and now moving to Zealots. Do I see a Twilight Council down? Should be seeing charge. That would be very, very good. And should be seeing out an observer or something like that from this robotics facility. Robotics Bay. I can never remember which one is which. And finally expanding myself. So I am so behind in the economic game, but I was able to kill a ton of probes. But as you can see here, he is able to quickly make up that difference with the two nexuses built, the two nexi building worker units and being able to chrono boost those out. We should be able to check out the worker supply and see that, see, he's already ahead of me. Even with all of those worker kills, 13 worker kills, he's already ahead of me again. And so just demonstrating once again that kind of tightrope balance when you have these non-mirror match situations between the Terran player who's trying to be a little bit more dynamic, a little more mobile with his forces, and the Protoss player who's going to sit back on his 2 base, build up a death ball, move out, and possibly go for a base race situation. Now with all of these gateways, you might look at that and go, wow, that's a ton of gateways, that's a maxed out production setup. I really don't think it is. I think that he could add some more gateways at this point and still not be maxing out his mineral income, as the frame rate just dropping down to nothing once again. Not sure what is going on there as we see this observer move out. Now Srinivasan still on just 3 gas, it looks like. Taking a quick look back and forth. Yeah, just on 3 gas, so getting a lot of gas, and now building some more gateways. See, I told you he had more room for that. And researching upgrades. So this is going to be a pretty... Oh, and researching Blink. That is an interesting choice. So there's an interesting question here, down here in the Silver Bronze League. Do you research Charge or do you research Blink? My preference would be Charge, because Charge does not require micromanagement. Does not require you to micro your units or spell to cast or an ability to use to make use of it, whereas Blink does. The other thing is that in my personal experience in playing Terran, playing against Protoss players, I have a really hard time with Charge. Charge basically negates the ability of the Terran units to kite Zealots, because normally Zealots are pretty slow, they have to get within melee range to attack, but Charge negates that, or at least reduces that significantly. Zealots are one of the highest DPS units in the game, highest damage per second units. Now I don't know the exact numbers. I mean, Marines, standard Marines are probably pretty close as well. But Zealots, super powerful, and of course you can warp them in so quickly. So at this point, you know, I don't know, this whole game I've been saying Srinivasan is at an economic advantage with his 2 bases, and now I'm finally expanding out to my second here. And I mean, what is going on with these SCVs? I think they harvested minerals and this was done and they didn't know where to go. That's just kind of weird. So Srinivasan expanded to a 3rd, but again, I was about to say I'm surprised at these supply counts because Srinivasan has such an increased income over myself. Yeah, look at that, double the income. That's pretty crazy. I think that's because my main base is pretty much mined out, and it is. But we should be seeing those incomes swing back. Now, of course, you can see the effect here of his income being higher, but he's just not producing as much as I was expecting because he's got all these minerals banked up. Now these warp gates should be running at a pretty much constant rate, and wow, now he's got tons of warp gates. So what is that, 11 warp gates? So that's good. All he needs is a good warp prison drop somewhere, and he can just drop in like 10 zealots. That is pretty awesome. Now it looks like he's, I was about to say he's going to do a move out, but it looks like he's not. Now again, with these 3 bases, and we did talk about this in one of the previous games, you can set up your defensive army right here, which, you know, again, down in these lower leagues, people try to be kind of hesitant with their armies, but if he's going to defend this 3rd, which is going to be where a lot of the minerals are coming in, wow, scanning that, that was awesome. I'll have to say, good job on the Terran player for scanning that, putting up some missile turrets. Not sure, is there a Dark Shrine back here somewhere? That would be extremely surprising, but yet powerful. The Dark Templar, Dark Shrine drop, the Dark Shrine being used to make Dark Templar, those being dropped in your main base are absolutely terrible because you need a lot of vision to be able to counter those guys. and 2 orbital commands that are using all of their mule energy to get resources will not have that money for scan. A bunch of marauders coming out, just going to do some trouble, and at the same time, like I said before, look at that. Srinivasan moving that army out into that neutral position, out into the middle of the map, and all of these probes coming over to this third. So the question is, will this little marauder hit squad be able to do some damage there, taking down these destructible rocks, which are not being watched at all by Srinivasan, which I think he should do that. Send a unit just out here just to be cognizant of when those rocks are being shot down. These marauders will be able to tear down those rocks relatively quickly, and I'm not sure that this ball right here, though, is pretty close. As long as he can kind of see them coming in before they get too close to the Nexus, as long as they don't stim into the Nexus, he should be okay. Putting down a sensor tower, just to kind of get an idea on army movement. But we are kind of in a standstill at this game. A lot of SCVs heading over to this third where there is no command center, but they should be moving soon. And here they go, they stim in, and they're going to be hitting this, trying to do as much damage as possible. They might be able to break it down. The probes are being run away, and this Nexus is going down. And that big army up in the middle coming up to try to catch up to the marauders who are running away. Stalkers should be able to catch up with them, and the Zealots do have charge, and there you can see them running in to do their damage. And this group of marauders is toast. They are history. Actually, wow, the SCVs were going all the way up here. Kind of a weird decision, but the Terran army is slightly more mobile than the Protoss army, so that maybe is a good choice. So players not doing a lot of interaction at this point. The mining in the natural is doing okay. Mining is almost done in the main for Srinivasan, and so you can see the Terran ability to mine very quickly has led to my main being mined out, and I'm basically on 1 base to 2. So here come the SCVs. They're going to build a command center there. That was kind of weird. I would have just lifted this off and moved that over, but I guess I'm trying to get this gas collection from here. But that's just really such a time sink to build this base all the way out here. And you can see I'm so low on minerals. I got gas, but super low on minerals. And now all the SCVs are trying to go back to the closest command center, which is very far away. And Srinivasan, again, I thought with that huge income differential between us that he would be really far ahead on the supply count right now, but once again, here we are down in Silver Bronze League, and people are not quite as up on their ability to take advantage of their advantages. When he has that income advantage, he should be able to just build a whole bunch of zealots and just steamroll me, but but he's decided not to do that, deciding to stay back. I guess he thinks he's ahead and he's trying to maintain that lead, but if he doesn't use his resources to either gain more resources or build up an army advantage, he is at a disadvantage. Now, one thing to note, of course, here is that the supply of a Protoss player is a little more efficient, than the supply of a Terran player. So Terran player needs to have higher supply, needs to be attacking from multiple directions, keeping the Protoss back, kiting them back to their base, kind of like a Zerg would, but maybe not quite as efficiently as a Zerg player. And that puts a lot of pressure on the Terran player. The Terran player defines the pace by coming in and attacking and pushing the Protoss back, and trying to restrict their expansions and whatnot. Now, I guess some would say that's kind of the other way around, and I've got it completely wrong. It's actually the Protoss player that defines the timing of the Terran player, because the Terran player is going to react to the Protoss player, kind of like a Zerg player does. But with Terran, since we have to build our units slowly one at a time, and our building structures, basically our unit count and our ability to make units is literally tied to the number of producing structures that we have, we do rely on a slow buildup of units. And so we don't quite have that kind of reflex snap capability that Zerg has to suddenly build countering units all of a sudden. So at this point, I don't think I feel that I'm necessarily ahead, maybe behind, but looking at the army supply, I do have a much higher army supply. We're about tight on worker supply, but he is now going to be mining off of this third, which is really more like a second, because since we're these terrible players playing down here in the lower league, we're going to be bouncing back between running out of minerals at bases, and even though we're expanding, we're really just replacing things. Ooh, okay, I totally missed a drop. I think there was a bunch of Marines came down, hit this Nexus in the main, killing a bunch of pros, but oh, there they are. A Marine and a Marauder still alive, going to cause some more damage, and try to keep the Protoss player back in their base. Not sure I'm going to do that, kill the pro, but all I'm doing right there is just freeing up supply. And he's not seen a lot of movement from the Protoss players. Is there like a counter drop going on? What's going on here? Oh, I had a drop over here in the natural at the same time. So they're just going to get roasted by these Colossi, but you know, a couple of Marines is going to be trying to cause some trouble. Whoa, Hero Marine, and oh, look at that burning fire. Wow. Okay, I've got a medevac here just hanging out, and the income on the Terran side is, you know, just skyrocketing here, not making use of that. I'm trying to build as many units as I can out of the few unit producing structures that I have, but, you know, again, you know, wow, off of a 2 base income, you really should be making more than that, but this is where that making more of that is. A massive ball of Marine Marauder, just a handful of medevacs, no Vikings to take down those Colossus, which I've seen a lot of. And he is basically on the income of maybe 1.5 bases. A big battle right here. Let's see if the computer keeps up the frame rate. I wasn't too impressed with it last time. And here we go, big ball versus big ball. The Marines getting stuck in the front. All these Marines in the back not doing anything. Need to move forward, stem forward. I tried to move forward first and then stem, trying not to get them too damaged. But 3 Colossus in the back. I think these 3 Colossus can one-shot Marines altogether. Even Marines with combat shield, especially if they've been damaged, and those Marauders don't stand a chance. I'm trying to pick up and get away, but wow, just all of a sudden the supply count's changing dramatically for the players, and Srinivasan on the attack. Lots of income from these players, and Terran player, that would be me, with a whole lot of minerals and a decent amount of gas. Am I building Vikings at all? What is this? 2 Vikings. Great. That's just awesome. That is not nearly enough to do what I need to do to stop this attack. Will I be able to kill off this Colossus that only has 26 hit points? That would be a shame if I do not. Oh, that was very nice that I did. But he's going to be able to come in here and clean up this natural, and that is a pretty good, important mining base for myself. But at this point, mining and income don't matter. What matters is the ability to generate units very quickly. And don't forget, he's got like those 11 warp gates back here that are, I mean, that's all he needs right there to end this game. He can spend his money far faster than I can, because I can only build units kind of that, you know, one at a time out of these barracks, and I've got to spend the money first, and then the units got to wait to build. That's the advantage of the warp gate. You can spend that money instantly and get the units basically instantly. Missile turret doing a pretty good job of hitting this Colossi, but without any backup, it's not going to be able to come down. And I find myself in a terrible position where I had a seemingly, you know, 40 supply count advantage against Srinivasan in that big battle up in this expansion over here. Had a big supply advantage there, but it doesn't matter if you don't manage your units well. I had a bunch of Marines. Marines are very weak to these Colossi. I had no Vikings with that group, and so he was able just to hit just a handful of times with the Colossi, and that just wipes out tons of Marines on every swipe. And that's, you know, that's the end of the game. It was a tech choice that he made, a tech choice I didn't follow up with, even though I saw the Colossi for a very long time. I should have had a group of, you know, 8 or 10 Vikings at that point, and I could have been able to, that outcome of that battle could have been very, very different. I think I tried to focus fire on the Colossi, but I think I tried to focus fire on the Colossi with the infantry units. But again, if I had had 10 Vikings, the Vikings could have focused on the Colossi. The infantry units could have focused on the Stalkers, and that battle would have gone completely differently. But, you know, then again, you know, that's kind of the point of going through these ladder games, is to try to improve my play by looking at what happened, and from this kind of more analytical view, and being able to see everything that happens in the game, and in some case being able to, you know, look at this replay a couple of times before I cast it. But now the funny part, the ironic part, of course, is that I'm switching to Zerg. You know, we'll see in Season 7, coming up after this game or so, that I am switching to Zerg, and so everything changes again, because Terrans can, you know, Zerg, Terran, Protoss, they're all completely different. And that one of the cool things, though, on the casting side, is we will be able to see a completely different playstyle coming from Zerg. And I can tell you, just from my remembering of it, that I definitely went for a macro-style Zerg, a lot of economy, and you know, expanding to a bunch of bases, trying to get map control, that kind of thing, which is very different than my play as Terran in Season 6, as you've seen lately. A lot of these plays were based on starting off with one base, pushing out, then expanding, and I always had a really hard time expanding as a Terran player, and, you know, balancing, you know, the turtling, the expanding, the, you know, and the income. You can see here, 3,000 minerals. I mean, that's just crazy. That's just you know, irresponsible spending or something like that. And Srinivasan at a huge advantage here, you know, huge advantage on the worker supply. Actually, no. Look at that. That is crazy. All those drops that I did killed off a ton of workers. So he has this army and we're kind of in the space race situation. But if I'm not able to push out with my army because I'm stuck here trying to build defenses, then it's not really going to matter. Now I think he's probably getting some sixth sense that I am around here somewhere, and he may be thinking, why isn't he dead yet? I've completely killed out his maid, where'd all his units, but he did see all of those barracks lift off, so they're somewhere around here somewhere. So my only hope at this point is to get some miracle positioning where I'm able to take out his units. Now, charging up a ramp to Colossi, if I'm able to take down the Colossi, I will have a high ground advantage, but there's just too many stalkers here, and I'm guessing the upgrades. Wow, 313 upgrades. Yeah, I do have 3-3 Marines. That's pretty good, I think that's supposed to be a well played there, and a good game and a nice end to the season. Massive battles, lots of units, and a massive Terran versus Protoss, which was good. I knew I was in trouble when I hit max, and that is very, very true. This game went very, very long. Protoss had tons of time to build a gazillion warp gates, and that is a real disadvantage for a Terran player when they hit those max army sizes. And of course, Srinivasan, point out Thermal Lance did it for me. One battle, one upgrade, one unit. And if you're not able to counter that unit, bring in 10 Vikings. That'll take care of the Colossi. Yeah, I should have attempted to. Oh, I didn't even focus at all on the Colossi. Oh, so terrible, so terrible. Now that was what, like 6 months ago or so. So maybe that's an excuse for me. In 6 months, I've learned a lot about the game. But yeah, and some of this is what happens when you kind of clump all of your games together and you haven't played for several months. Oh, Srinivasan, you're going to make me blur out some of your commenting. Thank you so much for doing that. Actually, that's not true, but it was a good game nonetheless, and that'll be kind of interesting when I get to that. Wow, I didn't realize this game quite went this long. A lot of talking here at the end, just talking to him while he blows up all of my stuff. But yeah, a good game there. Nice, good game between the two players. And I was really surprised about the Marine drops, at how well those worked, because apparently they broke down that worker count pretty well. While all this army stuff was happening, apparently I was multitasking better than I can cast. But let's get into that post game. Wow, so that was an interesting game. Terran versus Protoss, kind of your two turtling races, and I definitely decided to go for that defensive style Terran, which meant that we kind of plummeted towards that shot forward towards that max unit count, and that I still believe that really favors the Protoss with the warp gate technology. But in this case, players didn't really take advantage of that, so we just had a whole bunch of resources piling up in the upper right hand side here, you can see, and it came down to tech choices. Of course, in that big battle, we're just going to talk about that over and over and over and over again. Tech choices there, but there was a little bit of drops, harassment going on by myself into the mineral lines, and that did even out the incomes. But as you can see here, as the game goes on and further on in the game, it comes down to which players have done their homework on the production side, building up production structures, and of course making use of their army units that they've built, and being able to macro while they're attacking and build units quickly. So that is it for this game and it for Season 6. Check out the blog, GosuDad.blogspot.com, as well as the Twitter @GosuDad, and we will see you guys in Season 7 playing Zerg.